Hey PlayStation 5 fans, good news because FSR 4 will be coming to the PS5 Pro in early 2026. Now, it's supposed to be a rumor, but it's pretty much official. Obviously, we've seen a lot of hiccups in the road with PSSR, PlayStation's new partnership, PlayStation's proprietary upscaling technology for AMD APUs in their PS5 Pro. It's not been all sunshine and roses. We obviously saw that with the new Metal Gear game, the new Metal Gear remake. There was a lot of issues with graphics, and actually it ran worse on the PS5 Pro with PSSR than it does on the base PS5. And we're going to talk about that. But yeah, PS5 Pro will be getting FSR, AMD's official upscaling technology, which in my opinion is the most tried and tested and improved upon version of upscaling technology you can get right now, and we're going to talk about it. So this upgrade is slated to come out in a firmware update around the same time as FSR 4 comes to RDNA 3 graphic cards later this year. Well, Sony has already confirmed that its collaboration with AMD will involve bringing Fidelity EFX Super Resolution 4 FSR 4 features to the PS5 Pro. New rumors indicate that this will be happening sometime next year. In a new video, YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead commented on the image upscaling technology making its way to the PS5 Pro, noting that he expects it to arrive in the first quarter of 2026. In this update, he noted it's slated to happen either at the same time or shortly after AMD announces FSR 4 support coming to its graphics cards based on the older RDNA 3 architecture. This in turn is expected to happen towards the end of 2025, and it is worth noting that until there is an official announcement by Sony or AMD, this rumor is best taken with a grain of salt. I think as much as Sony are probably not going to announce this, and they're probably hesitant to announce this right now, is because obviously, you know, they want to push PSSR, they want to push it as if it's their own technology. Their upscaling technology is obviously the jewel in their crown. We have PSSR, Xbox doesn't. Essentially, it's just upscaling technology, and AMD have their own upscaling technology, which is obviously Fidelity EFX Super Resolution 4, FSR 4 for short. It's been in use on a multitude of AMD devices, talk the Steam Deck, handheld gaming PCs, ROG Ally, you know, their own graphics cards, and yes, even the PS5 and PS5 Pro. We've actually seen some games come out with PSSR support in support of Sony, but then realize that the games run really bad with PSSR, or the upscaling's janky, there's a lot of shimmering, upscaling effects, it just isn't ideal. So they've actually reverted back to AMD's own FSR in a lot of these games, and they've gotten better performance out of their games. So I hope PSSR isn't dead. I hope it improves further. But, you know, AMD makes the PS5's APU. It goes without saying that nobody knows how to take advantage of upscaling on AMD's hardware better than AMD themselves. And I think this is a fantastic update. And I'm hoping most games, most PS5 Pro games obviously support this to the best of their ability, right? So yeah, Sony and AMD announced their partnership all the way back in December 2024. As part of this partnership, the two companies would make the use of machine learning-based technology for graphics and gameplay, according to the PS5 Pro lead architect Mark Cerny. We've obviously seen AMD partner with Xbox as well. They're working with Xbox. Obviously, the new Xbox ROG Ally is coming out later this year. Cerny provided more details about this partnership back in March, revealing in an interview that the end result would be bringing FSR 4's more advanced image upscaling technologies to the PS5 Pro's PSSR. And to achieve this, the two companies have been working all years to integrate PSSR into Sony's titles. He said, "Our focus for 2025 is working with developers to integrate PSSR into their titles in parallel, though we have started to implement the new neural network on the PS5 Pro, referring to the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution image upscaling technology used in the PS5 Pro. And with this collaboration, Sony wants to improve its PSSR technology to be able to output similar results as FSR 4 when provided with the same inputs. Our target is to having something very similar to FSR 4's upscaler available on the PS5 Pro for 2026 titles. As the next evolution of PSSR, it should take the same inputs and produce essentially the same outputs," explained Cerny. Doing that implementation is rather ambitious and time-consuming, which is why you haven't already seen this new upscaler on the PS5 Pro. It begs a question, though, really, when AMD's APUs, specifically the slightly older ones in the PS5 Pro and the PS5, don't just use AMD's upscaling technology. I think Sony's, I hate to say PSSR is a waste of time. I really think they could make better use of their time by just supporting AMD's standard native FSR upscaling technology, rather than basically trying to shoehorn a lot of FSR's features into their own proprietary technology. I get why they're doing it. They want something that's bespoke for PlayStation. They want software that works with their hardware and obviously optimized for PlayStation to give them a little bit of an edge over other hardware solutions out there like Xbox and obviously other handhelds and stuff. They want PlayStation to have something unique to them that makes them stand out, makes them slightly better than the rest, but they're kind of doing a bad job at it right now, because every game I feel like that comes out, including some of their first party titles and games that are PS5 exclusive, you know, that use PSSR, not all of them are created equal. Some PSSR just in some cases makes them worse, especially on the PS5 Pro, the premier PlayStation hardware, right? And to hear Mark Kearney basically saying we're going to be working overtime to try and get all the new FSR, AMD's native upscaling tech into our upscaling tech, it feels like they're reinventing the wheel. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, they've had the chance to prove themselves. They've not done a great job at it so far. That can all change in a matter of weeks or months. But yeah, right now, why not just support FSR on all games? And we're seeing developers actually take the reins and say, okay, we're gonna put a slider or a toggle on all our games, basically saying, do you want to use PSSR because Sony kind of wants us to use PSSR, or do you want to just use FSR and get better performance and have it look better? It's up to you, the gamer. I think that's the way it should be. I think as much as PlayStation wants everyone to be forced to use PSSR, I think developers are tired of getting flack for their games not running as well as they should. So I'm glad that developers are taking it into their own hands and basically giving the gamer the option to basically just use FSR instead of PSSR. Anyways, Mark also says that is what we're targeting and we believe that we can achieve it. He continued, the peak performance number for PS5 Pro is 308-bit tops without sparsity, which compares very well to the recently released AMD GPUs. We don't believe sparsity is useful for this particular upscaling algorithm. I could totally, like, every time I read a quote from Mark Cerny, I could see his face and the way his mannerisms as he talks. He's such a unique character. For what it's worth, FSR itself is a relatively young iteration of the image upscaling technology, having been released earlier this year alongside AMD's current lineup of Radeon RX 9070s and RX 9060 graphics cards. I don't think this is a quote from Mark Cerny, but I'm reading it like it is. As part of the launch, the company released regular RX 9070 and RX 9060 GPUs, as well as more powerful RX 9070 XTs and RX 9060 XT GPUs, depending on what level of power PC players might want. Wait, I'm Mark Cerny. I work for PlayStation. Why am I advertising AMD's GPU? Forget I just said that. But yes, the PlayStation 5 Pro has 308-bit like cards. I love Mark Cerny. Anyways, let me know what you think. FSR 4, obviously not a lot of people care or know what FSR is. They don't really care or know about or have the interest in upscaling tech, but those of us nerds that love technology, and especially PC gamers who maybe also have a PS5 or PS5 Pro, obviously, you know, having needed to tinker with my graphics settings a lot and use FSR in different modes, performance, quality mode, etc., similar to NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling tech, you know, we know. If you know, you know. And the intricacies of upscaling tech. If you know, you know. And that's why I'm doing this video. Basically, FSR 4, or at least very similar FSR 4, is coming to PlayStation 5 Pro early next year. I think that's good. I think it needs to happen. And I think it's good that developers, and I think PlayStation should just encourage this, allow the gamers to decide if they want to use FSR or PSSR. You know, go ahead. PlayStation, keep improving PSSR, you know, branch off your own version of FSR and, you know, make your own improvements. That's great, but give us the option to switch between, just like we do on gaming PCs, right? You know, we could use Intel, at least on my PC, or sorry, on certain PCs, if you have an Intel APU, you can use Intel's upscaling technology. You can use AMD's, you can use the game's built-in upscaler. You know, just give us options. You know, it's an AMD APU. If people want to use FSR, because obviously AMD's working day in and day out to improve their upscaling tech, because they have a market outside the PS5, handheld gaming PCs, etc., and they're constantly working on how to eke the most performance, the most frames out of games using their upscaler. And you know, PlayStation should just allow them to do that, and allow gamers to use AMD's own native upscaler on PS5. I mean, PS5 is using AMD tech. It's using an AMD APU that can take advantage of a lot of these native features. You know, great, you've got PSSR, that's awesome. Just give us a choice in all the games. All game developers and publishers should do that, because obviously, you know, it's just nice having choice. Variety is the spice of life, if that's the right saying. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, click the bell icon. Your support means a lot. PS5 gamers unite. We're going to be doing a video talking about the recently revealed leaks about the PlayStation Portal, the PSP2, the new PlayStation handheld. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, I love you. I appreciate you all. See you in the next one. Come join us every day at 1 p.m. Central for some Battlefield gaming goodness on stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. Link down below. Peace.
Let's go.